Hey everyone, JT here. Welcome. Welcome to a bonus episode of the Simplify Your Life Masterclass. And again, it's all about you and really helping you get to your next level of greatness. And I just wanted to thank you for all the messages that I am getting from you. It lights me up seeing all these messages of the ahas that are coming, all these breakthroughs, and all these messages of commitment, of just you stepping into your greatness, of you fully embracing this is what I want, this is what I deserve, and you owning it. So thank you for that. That is something that really lights me up, and this is why I've dedicated my life to sharing this work with more people. So today I'm really enthused. I wanted to have a conversation with a great friend. Now, this is someone who I first met as a 14-year-old who came out for football as a grade 9. And then over the years, we developed a bond, right? He in his last season, he was a captain for our team. And from there, first year after he was done, he came back and was one of the coaches that I work with. And beyond that, it's really given me a great opportunity just to get to know him and really develop a bond, right? We've come to know each other's families. And again, seeing him grow and evolve over the last 12 years has been an amazing journey, and I'm so enthused to be able to bring him on today. So Travis, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, you know what? Appreciate the kind words, JT. So likewise, happy to be here.
Yeah. So Travis, we've known each other for a long time, right? We go back to first conversation. As I said, I still remember the first conversation where we actually connected. It was a rainy football practice. You're standing there in your Air Force Ones holding the first down marker for me. And I just make a comment about, about how your mother is not going to take too kindly to it, right? Your mom is amazing. And I've always thought, I knew that, she held you and your brother to some high standards, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And then, as I said, you came back, right? You developed into this amazing leader. You came back and was a coach. And, after that, even though I had moved on to another school, we had still stayed in connection, and we started to work together probably over a year ago. I think December we started working together.
Yep.
So here's a question I have for you. What got you interested in starting to work together and really starting to get open to this idea of really investing into yourself and finding a coach?
Yeah, you know what? So the biggest thing for me is that I needed change, and I needed to find my inner happiness and my potential, right? So through you, of course, there's a big trust there, right? So it was very easy for me to say yes to that decision of investing time in myself. Since day one till today, we've been working together step by step, and as you know, like the stuff that I've accomplished in this short amount of time has just been, breathtaking, right? Like we say, like we're looking in the past, like I need a telescope to see all that stuff, right? So extremely grateful that you approached me with this idea, and all it took was an hour a day, and I can't thank you enough. So yeah.
No, and I very much appreciate those words, and it really speaks to my heart. Again, not the physical heart, but that emotional heart, just because I've seen you grow and evolve over the last 12 years. So one of the interesting things that you talked about was, you've always been ambitious, right? Not many 18-year-olds come back and want to start volunteering every day at their high school and wanting to coach. you've always been pretty driven. You've always been like me, a little stubborn, and when you're two speeds like me, you're either all in or you're not in at all.
Yep.
But one of the things that I really notice has shifted for you in the last year is becoming open. So I'm just curious.
Yeah.
You had to become open to being coached, right? Like there was nothing that I could say that was going to convince you. So what has becoming open to actually wanting and asking for help and support, how has that really created change, or how has that really impacted your life?
You know what? Like, people might know who I am through this. I was very stubborn. You couldn't say a single thing to me, I wouldn't even listen to you, right? So being more open has allowed me to create more opportunities in my life. Stuff that I used to imagine is happening now, right? So being more open allowed me to get multiple promotions in a short period of time. It allowed me to find more income streams. It allowed me to connect with people that are like-minded like myself, who want great results, right? So be more open allows me to join a live call, on Facebook, just to connect and talk to people, right? So the opportunities, I think that's the largest thing that I've gained from being open.
And that's such a great piece of advice. And what I'm really hearing from you, Travis, is that being open has really allowed you, it's possibility, it's
Yep.
opportunities. And when we open ourselves up to possibilities, and that every conversation is an opportunity to learn something or grow from it, amazing things happen. Would you say that you've noticed that in your life?
Yeah, hands down, 100%.
Okay. So again, one of the things that came up, so when we first started, right, chatting,
Yep.
I presented you with an opportunity, right? And we had a very honest and frank conversation. And for me at that time, it was like, I mean, we've gotten to know each other pretty well, right? Not just
Yep.
personally, but family wise, right? We've known each other. But when you were first presented with this opportunity to really make a big shift in your life, right? To really not just make incremental progress, but really let's make an exponential or a quantum leap. What came up for you at first? Like, was there any like emotions? Was there any fear that came up, or?
Yeah. My first initial thought was, hang up the call right now. Do it. Hang up the call. He's scamming you, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything came up, but there is something, like, my intuition was telling me, like, listen, be open. And best decision I've made was not hanging up that phone and giving it an opportunity to really just dig in and find out what it's all about. Every single thought popped in my head, right? Oh my God, well, how, like, right? So, I said, this is the easiest way to put it. I just said, yes, let's do it. I'm all in.
Okay. And I love that, right? And again, I've known you, that you saying I'm all in, yes. Like, I mean,
Yep.
that's big, right? And you didn't hum and haw about it. Like, you just said, I'm in. Let's do
Yep.
this. I think those
Yep.
are the exact words you used. But one thing that came up that I really want to explore a little bit more was the how. Like, you came up there, like all this how. And I want you to maybe share with everything what you've learned about, how the how sometimes keeps you stuck.
Right. Yeah. And that's a big one, right? So to keep it short and sweet, the how isn't really up to you. The second you make that decision, you say yes to something, that how that you're thinking about will just show up, right? So the how for me, of course, is the investment, right? How am I supposed to do that, right? I just said yes. And then it's kind of, as I'm doing the work, as the process was just like opening in front of me, my awareness just expanded, and all that stuff that I was worried about didn't concern me anymore, right? So like going back to just being open, right? And allowing yourself to grow and define your potential, right? And obviously, yeah, we'll win that part there, because I was going to go on a little spew there, but I feel like we can answer that through other questions.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the interesting part, right? Was, it's interesting how the conscious mind, right? It's this idea of needs happen in our conscious mind, right? And that's where the paradigm comes out, right? The paradigm wants us to go how. It goes, okay, hang up the phone. What's the catch? This sounds too good to be true. All this bullshit and all these ideas, right? And it just locks us into that sort of mental prison, and it keeps us stuck, right? And when you get open, like you were saying, and it's really not your responsibility, right? Like the how, like you said, that's not your responsibility. The only thing you need to the only thing you're responsible for is, what do you want, right?
Yeah.
And when you allow yourself to relax, to actually get open and to get clear on what you want, right? And that's a different part of your mind. That's your subconscious, that, like you said, everything just starts to show up. So let me ask you a question then. When we had that conversation, that initial conversation, you and your amazing fiance were thinking about purchasing a house.
Yep.
So logically, you had every reason to hang up the phone, right? Like, shit, that's down payment. That's house down payment, right? So what was it there that made you do the illogical thing?
Yeah.
And say, okay, no, we're going to repurpose this. Like, I'm going to invest into myself.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that everyone is telling me I need to invest in this house. I need to do this. I need to do that. So I'm curious there, like, yeah, I'm curious to hear your end of what made that decision.
Yeah. So you're right. Down payment on house. That's how I invested. It was just the fact that the house that I was going to put a down payment on it wasn't what I wanted, right? It wasn't in the neighborhood that I want to live in.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't getting out of my boundaries. It wasn't getting out of my comfort zone, right? Where I wanted to live, I needed to grow as a person. I needed to do just more, right? So it allowed that down payment wasn't very big, right? It wasn't very big. That's behind us. But it kind of showed me a way of, Travis, you need to try something different. You need to get out of your comfort zone. You got to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and start doing something different. Push yourself. Basically what it was. This is going to push me to grow. It's going to push me to live in the house that I live in now, right? My family still thinks I'm crazy. It's like, are you kidding me? Riverbend? It's like, yeah, Riverbend. Sure. Why not? In terms of, I don't want to like say anything bad about any certain neighborhood, but East End's more, that's where you're at right now. Go to the East End. And like, there's a lot of nice houses in the East End, don't get me wrong, but that's not where I wanted to live. I wanted to live where myself, my fiance, the puppy that's probably whining in the background is safe, right? So yeah, that was the biggest part for me.
So what I'm really hearing from you is that idea of, you decided that, hey, don't get me wrong, a house, can be a good investment, but you decided to invest in your greatest resource, which was yourself. Right. And you decided to say, I'm worthy, I'm deserving. And by doing that, you completely transformed you started to grow. As you grew, you gained greater awareness of what you actually wanted. And
Yep.
throughout that whole process, you've still gotten right to where you wanted to live.
Yep.
And it all started by making an illogical decision.
Right. Right.
Interesting. So it's funny, right? Like when we get open, how the how, like you said, just shows up.
Yep.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper just because it's really interesting to hear this conversation now.
Yep.
What made you take that leap of faith? Because obviously, like many of us, is, those paradigms are strong, right? Those paradigms, those fixed ideas, those old bullshit beliefs are strong. They've been passed down to us through, as when we were conceived, they've been told us through our generation to do what's safe and what's comfortable, right?
Yeah.
But what was it that really allowed you to sort of take that leap of faith, right? Because I'm probably sure at the beginning, you didn't believe a lot, right? Like, let's just say you might have believed maybe 5% of it was possible. You probably, and again, I speak from my own experience that we think it's possible for other people, maybe not ourselves.
Yeah.
But what made you want to actually take the leap and actually step off the cliff to jump?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. Where I wasn't happy. Right. As much as I kept a smile on my face and made sure that everyone else around me was in a happy position, I wasn't. I was doing it for other people. I was doing nothing for myself. Right. So the big leap of faith was, this would be the first time where I did something for me. That was the leap of faith. Was I needed something, and like the saying is, when you're ready to learn, the teacher will show up. That's what happened for me. I was ready to take a leap of faith. I was ready to do something for me. Right. Yeah. So that's the easiest way to put it.
And I love that, that idea, right? Of what you're sharing, that once you were open, that coach and mentor was someone who had been in your life and the whole time, right? Like you sort of became open to actually hearing it. And that's what I want to acknowledge you for, was you didn't have to accept those ideas, but you became open and you sort of allowed yourself in, and having that level of awareness to realize that, hey, I don't really like the results I've gotten up to this point, but actually taking that leap of faith and saying, but I want better. And that's the power of desire, right? Like desire is the starting point of all achievement.
Yep.
Right? It's the first chapter for those that like to read it, Think and Grow Rich. It's the first of the 13 steps to riches, right? Napoleon Hill wrote about it. And that's based on 500 of the world's most successful people. Like the stuff Travis and I are talking about right now is again, been practiced by the world's most successful and highly effective people for hundreds of thousands of years. So what changes? I'm sort of very open-ended. What changes have you seen since beginning to study thinking into results, like either personally or professionally? Like what would be the one, what would be some changes that you think have made the most impact in your life?
Yeah. So, I closed the know and doing gap, right? So what I mean by that, like, we're all filled with all this knowledge and we all have knowledge, all that fun stuff, right? All I did was I applied the knowledge that I had. Like, other than outside of coaching football, that's really the only time where I really was applying my knowledge, right? So I kind of turned that aspect in my work life and I started applying more knowledge, throw random numbers out there. Like, my specific part of the store was, the sales were up 76%, right? And it wasn't in no surprise. It was because of the work. I was allowing myself to apply my knowledge and kind of grow people, not just grow myself, but I was also growing other people. I was being an effective leader is what I was being, right? And it was on no accident. It was just me being myself. And I decided to show up every single day for myself, and it kind of projected into other people, right? So closing the no and doing gap, I think is huge.
That's, again, such great advice, Travis, right? Is that whole understanding, right? The knowing is kind of, we talk about this out loud, right? We've been conditioned to think that knowing is all of it, like knowledge is power. And something that we often talk about, that I often share here, is knowledge is potential power. The knowing is in that conscious part of the mind. It gathers information, read the book, da da da. But really, where the power is, it comes from the subconscious part of the mind, the doing. And that's where we have to tap into that, because that part of our mind is operating 96 to 98% of the time. And like you said, when you close the gap, you, most importantly, start to better understand who you are, what your skills, what your talents, what your gifts are. But in the process, you're able to help more people. So what I would love to know is, how have you been able to help more people? Because, anyone that knows you knows you got a big heart.
Yeah.
How has coming around these ideas transformed you as a leader into an effective leader?
Yeah. I started have more gratitude and more appreciation for people, right? I struggled in the past of, holding back compliments, like small compliments, almost like I don't want them to be better than me. So I just want to keep them where they're at. And it wasn't like on purpose. It wasn't selfish, right? Like I said, I volunteer all the time to coach, right? But I'm enthused to see how that's going to go now with the coaching, to see how much I've improved myself, right? Just to show a little bit of appreciation to people, just giving people compliments. And it's not like on purpose. It's, I'm allowing myself to appreciate myself, and I'm allowing myself to appreciate others, right? Which in return showed what we're doing. It has showed up, and allowed people to really become who they were, who they wanted to be, unlock their potential, right? So just showing gratitude and appreciation went really far for me personally.
Yeah, no, and I love that. What I love most about that is, these aren't super complicated ideas, right? And what I heard from you was the of what happens when we become grateful, right? And to me, gratitude is the easiest way to connect to love. And love is one of the most powerful emotions, right? And when we operate from that. And what I love from what you shared is just when you are able to help people feel better, when you're able to raise people up, it almost is like it's like you were saying, I'm enthused to see what happens when you're able to coach again, because you're working at a completely different level of understanding.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Nice. So here's a question I would have for you. What would you say to someone who is, they've been watching the Chalk Talks, right? They watch them regularly. They tune into the master classes. They like these ideas. They feel good when they're watching it, but they're still sitting on the fence, right? They haven't yet sent a message and reached out and really said, committed, like I'm in, like you did.
Yep.
That what is happening now is, they're sort of in their conscious mind. The paradigm's coming in, and it's trying to convince them all the reasons why they shouldn't do it. That's not the time. They don't have the money. They don't see it. They don't have the support. What would you say for that person that they know they want better, but they're just so focused? The paradigm's just getting the focus on the how. What would you say to that person?
Yeah. Do the illogical. Say yes. And I'm not pitching a sale. I'm just saying, like, literally, you will start noticing from day one how valuable of a person that you could be, just simply training your mind, right? Do daily studies. You are going to become the best person you can become through this program. And I don't say this often. I promise, if you're open-minded and you want better results, you are going to get it. I promise you that. Simple as that.
And I think that that's great, right? That's great advice, is that, right? Success is not a secret. It's a system, right? It's like once you develop the purpose and you get clear on your goals, which that's your only responsibility, this is the plan, right? And you and I, okay, and you watching this, we will work together, okay, and I'll guide and mentor you over the next 6 months to really help you get that quantum leap, that exponential shift. Okay? And if you take anything from this conversation, don't get impressed with the results that I've experienced, that Travis has experienced. What I want you to take on it is I want to simply impress on you that it is possible for you too. But you need to decide that I'm all in and you need to go. Okay. And for those, as a reminder, okay, the exclusive opportunity to start working together with a few more bonuses, okay, is still open till 11:59 tonight. So you got, okay, just under 12 hours. Okay. So if you've been watching this throughout the week, okay, you've been tuning in, you know what the answer is. So like Travis said, right, time to go. Okay. So what I need you to do is send me a message, tell me I'm all in, okay, and we'll get you started right away and help you start experiencing the results that Travis has been experiencing. So Travis, I just wanted to thank you and acknowledge you for all the work that you have done, all the work that you're continuing to do, and for allowing me to be a part of your growth journey. So thank you for that, brother.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
So I look forward to chatting with you. Send me that message and we'll get you started right away. Okay. Have a great day, everyone.